So good morning, everybody. My name is Sorka Finucane, and I am the owner and founder of Trained In. Trained In is an online marketplace that's designated to training and consultancy providers to showcase their business and their services. The idea of Trained In is to put small, medium, large, and freelance business on the same level playing field with equal access to market. The purpose of our webinars is to have our registered providers like Joanne and put them in touch with like-minded people and potential clients like yourselves. And it's a great opportunity for you to get to know Joanne, find out what makes her tick and how she got to where she is today. And I'm sure, as I am, that everybody is dying to hear this presentation because everybody in the world needs sleep. So it's something that everybody is going to be able to benefit from. So, Joanne, before we kick off and before you go into your presentation, tell us a little bit about you. Who is Joanne O'Callaghan?
Oh, well, so I'm an author, so I've written the book, How to Get a Good Night's Sleep. I'm a speaker, an online trainer. I'm a podcaster. I recently just started my podcast. Yeah, Empowering Family Health. And I'm always looking for health professionals or doctors to interview all about health and wellness and empowering families. So that's what I really value. That's what's really important to me, is really empowering people to take back control of their lives again, because you know something, there's so much fear, so much uncertainty in the world, there's so much struggling, unnecessary struggling in the world. And I believe that when we take our power, when we stand back into, you know, our power and dissolve fear. Now look, there's always going to be a certain amount of fear. Fear is actually what makes us move forward and gets us out of our comfort zone. But I think, you know, there's too much fear which is taking people's power away. It's really disempowering them. And that's where my passion lies. And then with families as well, with children, because parents have, in my opinion, the toughest job in the world. They're responsible for little children, little beings, and, you know, bringing them up. And, you know, as they grow from childhood into adults, they learn all that from all the conditioning in the home. And parents mean well all the time, but they don't always get it right. And there's nothing wrong. They mean well, there's nothing wrong. But I think education and then applying the knowledge is what really empowers people to take control of their lives again. And I'm really passionate, especially with children, because they're our next generation. They learn from our behaviors, not what we tell them, because their brainwaves are different, they're wired differently, and it's part of their survival when they're growing up. And we could talk all about that. But for parents, you know, they're role models for their children. And really, I just think, when I think about that, it's just such a privilege to be a parent. My daughter is 9 years of age. I lost Megan at birth in 2007. And really, that's where I got onto the whole road of health and wellness, because I discovered how powerful the mind is. And how I can be in control of my life again by choosing how I think and how I act and behave. But it all starts from, you know, how we see things, our view of life, our beliefs, our opinions, our, you know, how we see things, our attitude and perceptions. And that all starts with thoughts in the head. And I discovered all that after I lost Megan. I lost her literally on the day that she was due. So she was full term. And I had to go. I went into the hospital, there was no heartbeat, and I had to go home, go back again 2 days later and give a natural birth. So you can imagine, it was awful, horrendous. But
traumatizing.
Yeah. So thankfully, and you know, I went on to have Leah 3 years after that, and she's gorgeous, and I just love her to bits. But during that whole process of grieving and everything else, I discovered who I am, and I'm still discovering who I am. You know, and we always are, because, you know, life happens. And you know, it's all about, if we have that empowerment and knowing we're good enough, you know, perfect as we are, warts and all, really loving ourselves and giving ourselves a break, because we're always sabotaging ourselves, you know. So that's what I'm all about. That's who I am.
Great, amazing. Gee, what a story! What a lot of grief in there, which I'm sure a lot of people have as well.
Yeah.
And it has to manifest in some way if you don't let it go and release or hold. I had a loss as well with my parents, and you hold the grief, you hold guilt as well, which
because you're blaming yourself
in your mind. But it's fascinating how everything is just intertwined.
And the body is so forgiving, no matter. And shame and guilt, you mentioned, they're two of the lowest vibrations that you can have.
Oh, really?
Really, really the lowest vibrations. So if you've shame and guilt, it's all that I'm not good enough. And we all have a certain element of not good enough. It just manifests in different ways. But but that's the umbrella. I'm not good enough, and so many of us do actually have that. So so it's really incredible how forgiving the body is, but also how innate the healing power the body has, and it's not to be underestimated. Like seriously. Respect your bodies and what your body is trying to do for you. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really looking forward to your presentation, Joanne. Before we go on, I'll just let everybody know that we can't see you and we can't hear you. A lot of people might be delighted to know that there's no cameras on them this early in the morning. But please use the chat facility and ask any questions or make any comments, and we will address them throughout. I know we're going to run a poll at one stage, and Joanne has an offer then that we'll run at the end. But Joanne, I will pass it over to you. I'll turn my camera off, but I'll still be here in the background if you need any assistance. So
great.
Over to you.
I'm going to share my screen. So Sorcha, if you can just let me know that you can see my screen. Okay, let me get to it here. Now, can you see that?
Yep, so you pop it on slideshow and we'll be all good. Excellent.
Good. Fantastic. Okay, great. So everyone, you're very, very welcome. And I'm so delighted that you're here and that you want to be empowered to learn and educate and find out more about how to get a good night's sleep. So what you're going to get in this presentation is really get clear on why sleep is so important, because, for so many of us, we just go to bed at nighttime and we don't give it a second thought. We don't know much about, we're not conscious of what's happening. So you're really going to get crystal clear on why sleep is so important and all the different processes. I'm going to give you 5 strategies that's going to help you to get a good night's sleep. And even if you've been trying to do many things before in the past, these 5 strategies, if you stick to these and implement these strategies, it will get you on the way to having a good night's sleep. So you're going to get real insight as well into what it takes to get yourself sleeping so that you can have the best night's sleep you've ever only dreamed of. And my promise to you today is that you're going to walk away with actionable steps. So you're going to get a little bit of homework to help you get sleeping tonight. So I actually told Sorcha there, starting off, a little bit about myself. So I'll just skip through this slide here. And actually just to mention as well, because I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a president as well of the Athy Toastmasters Club, and that helped me with my speaking career as well. So that's a very big win for me. So I've met a lot of people along the way. Networking is very, very important to me because it's all about sharing and caring. So I've met so many great people along the way, and I encourage you to do the same, especially if you're an entrepreneur as well. It's the only way that you are going to succeed in life. So I've been involved with a lot of mentors, and I've been in a few papers and podcasts and interviews, radio interviews. So they're just a few of the associations that I've had in the past. So the 5 strategies. And the very first one there is missing. So it's actually understanding sleep. Let me just see. There we go. It's understanding sleep, because you need to know the information before you can actually do something about it to fix the problem. You need to actually be able to see the problem before you can fix it. So understanding sleep is super important. Managing stress. Now, we use the word stress very liberally these days, but there is stress everywhere. And let me talk to you a little bit about the stress system. We, thousands of years ago, stress was running away from the tiger. And nowadays, stress is an angry boss, the traffic on the street, your spouse nagging at you, whatever. Stress is showing up in so many different ways, and we don't actually realize that our body is stressed. And even not getting a good night's sleep is stress as well in itself. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Know your sleep requirements. That's really important because, we have guidelines, but we're all individuals. And that's really, really important to know. Really be aware of your body, and not even just about sleep, but everything else. What we eat, the foods we eat, the amount of exercise, whatever. But knowing your sleep requirements is really, really important. We want to rule out any sleep disorders as well. So sleep apnea is a very big one that's undiagnosed in an awful lot of people. I'll talk about that. And also aligning with your circadian rhythm. So I'm going to show you how you can align with your circadian rhythm. So before we begin, I love this quote from Napoleon Hill: knowledge and purpose. There is one quality which one must possess to win, and that is the definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants, and a burning desire to possess it. So you really have got to want to achieve something. You've really got to be able to visualize an outcome and, to succeed in whatever it is that you want to achieve. This applies to all areas of your life. And speaking of all areas of your life, it's always in your being, how you're being, your attitude, your perspective, and how you're being in one area of your life. That's actually going to transpire to all the other areas of your life. So wouldn't it make sense to be aware of how you're being in any one situation, because it's going to have a massive impact on all the other areas of your life. So I just love this quote. It's very powerful. It really sums up what success is and what it takes to win. So we talked about perspective. So this is really, really important to me. It's how we view life. It's what we're saying to ourselves. It's the language that we're using. So what is your perspective about sleep? For so many people, they say things like, I don't have time for sleep. And if you wouldn't mind just putting in the chat box, just say yes if you do say things like, I don't have time for sleep, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'll have plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead, or I don't have time, I need to finish this project first before I sleep. My mother, when I was growing up, she always had to clean the kitchen before she went to bed. And that was her priority. So therefore, sleep was not her priority. And she was actually going to bed at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. My father used to drink quite an awful lot when I was growing up. So there was many late nights. And that's a whole other story. But what are you saying to yourself about sleep? So understanding sleep. So in order to do anything well, to succeed, to win, you've got to understand the process. So take driving a car, for example. So when you understand what the accelerator pedal is, when you understand what the clutch pedal is, what it does, and the brake, when you understand how they work and in harmony with each other as well, you're going to drive that car much better. It's exactly the same with sleep and your body. When you understand the different processes, what your body requires, and we service our car very regularly as well to maintain it. So sleeping well regularly as well is going to maintain the longevity of your body too. So understanding the process. So really what I say to you is do a course. I'm going to give you an offer at the end of this, actually, by the way. Read a book. There's loads of YouTube videos out there. Go and find out about sleep and what is happening to your body at nighttime when you sleep as well. So why is sleep so important? Well, there's the obvious things. When we wake up in the morning time, we're going to feel refreshed and energized. That's one of the purposes of getting a good night's sleep. I know for some of you there, you said, I've had my full night's sleep, but I still feel tired. So we'll have a little look at that later on as well. So it also is involved in your memory consolidation, which is really, really important. So for example, if a student is taking an exam, most students, they stay up really late cramming, trying to get as much studying in as they possibly can. But the next day when they're taking the test, they will find that their memory, recalling all that memory, will be reduced by up to 40%. It's been shown in studies. When you have severe sleep deprivation the night before an exam, you can have a memory loss or not be able to recall your memory up to 40% of an impact. So that's massive. So it's really important to get a good night's sleep, especially if you're doing exams or you're giving a presentation maybe or whatever. It's really, really important. It also regulates your mood. Your gut is connected to your brain. I mean, your whole body is connected to each other, but the gut-brain connection is absolutely massive. And we have a particular neurotransmitter, serotonin, and many others, which is very heavily involved in the mood regulation. So serotonin is our happy hormone, if you like, but we also need serotonin to make our sleep hormone, which is melatonin. So it's all interconnected, and mood is a very, very big part of sleep, and also the microbiome as well, which has been shown in many, many studies. If your microbiome is impacted, which it can be heavily when you don't sleep well, it's going to have an effect on your mood as well. Your immune system, it has been shown in studies that if you sleep for 5 hours or less on a regular basis, it can reduce the effectiveness of your immune system by up to 60 or 70%. I'll say that again because that is incredible. If you have regular sleep deprivation nights of 5 hours or less, your immune system will be reduced, the effectiveness of your immune system, by up to 60 to 70%. And clearing the brain of toxins as well. So I'm going to go a little bit more into that on another slide. So what happens when we don't get enough sleep? Well, it weakens the immune system. So I touched on that. And now with this current situation, there's a lot of fear in the world, and that in itself is reducing our immune system because it's causing stress on the body. And also we have a lot of anxiety, worries, and we're not getting asleep at nighttime as a result of that. Or at least if we are even sleeping, we are not getting into that deep because our nervous system is still on alert to us. We can't fully relax. Blocked coronary arteries, heart attack, stroke, raised blood sugar, weight gain. And it has been shown that, you know, heart disease is a #1 killer, and that is fairly much linked to sleep deprivation, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, obesity, the weight gain there I have down there. Lots of these things have been shown in studies. You can develop Alzheimer's. So lack of sleep can contribute to Alzheimer's as well, believe it or not, and depression and anxiety. So we touched on that with mood. Now I had to put in a funny slide to raise the vibration here because that was bad news in the last slide. So is there anybody here who experiences this first thing in the morning? And I certainly have. So when you wake up first thing in the morning, no one is allowed to talk to you until you have that cup of coffee. And no one is to ask you any questions as well. Like you just need, I remember when I worked in a company and the IT director, he used to work all hours during the nighttime. He's a bit of a night owl. And if the systems crashed first thing in the morning, we'd ring him and he'd say, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. It didn't matter if the whole company was falling down. I'll ring you back in 10 minutes. I need to get my cup of coffee first of all. And that was his priority. So sometimes if we're not sleeping well, we may need a stimulant or something to get us going in the morning. So I just thought that was a very funny slide. So physical health. So it affects many different areas of our body on a physical level. So our hormone balance, so your testosterone levels, your growth hormone. So for a man, he has to have at least 3 hours consecutive sleep to produce the right amount of testosterone that our body needs for a man. The growth hormone is only released in the body in the deep phase of sleep. Now, the growth hormone obviously does what it says. It's involved in growth and development, particularly in young children who are still growing and their bodies are going through, you know, puberty. That's a very important time for them as well. So the growth hormone is super important. Cardiovascular, blood sugar issues. So if we're not sleeping well, we are going to have stress on the body. So what does stress do? Well, it's going to release cortisol, and cortisol needs energy. So what does cortisol do? It produces glucose in the body. So this is going to have an adverse effect on our blood sugars. And this goes whether we're sleeping or not. Other stress issues as well, it's going to have an effect on our blood sugar levels. So really watch that in relation to the cortisol. Gut health is a very important one as well. So I spoke briefly about the microbiome. We really have got to look after our microbiome. Guys, I have a delivery at the door. Give me 2 seconds. I'm so sorry about this.
I'll come on there. I'm just putting in my own little comment into the chat there. And for me, it's like I try to go to bed early, around 10 or 10:30 every night. And then I feel I'm sitting in the bed scrolling through my LinkedIn or my social media and my emails. Joanne, I'm just entertaining everybody here.
So sorry about
I
that.
was just saying that I find I try to go to bed early, around 10:30 or 10, and then I end up scrolling through my social media or emails, and I have the TV on the background, and it ends up being 12:30 or something like that. Ken has said, when sleep becomes as necessary as our busy lives, we literally recharge and repair our body. And just to tell you what the poll result was, 28% of people said getting to bed at a reasonable hour. 14% of people said difficulty getting to sleep because of mindful thoughts, And
How many?
14%.
Yeah, yeah.
And 57% of people said waking up during the night and not able to get back to sleep.
Wow. Okay, well, I'll touch on that one then. Okay, right.
Mm.
Brilliant. Okay, great. So I'll continue on.
Good stuff.
So gut health. So we spoke about the microbiome. So the microbiome, I cannot underestimate about the microbiome. And I could talk a lot about this, but we don't have the time. But I'll just touch on the fact that, you know, the foods that we're eating, the plant fiber that we're getting, this is what feeds our microbiome. And it's the diversity as well of the microbiome is what keeps our gut health very strong. But what's happening now in the world is the land is been over harvested, all the pesticides and herbicides and everything is killing. So the plant immune system, if you like, is not really been able to do its job because all these herbicides are killing whatever germs or whatever that's on the plant. So it's not really able to fully develop itself. And then we're ingesting the plants as well. So between lots of different things that's going on with how we're harvesting the land and growing crops, it's having an effect, and the diversity of the microbiome has been reduced as well. So it's really important to eat a wide range of foods and plant foods in particular, obviously, to increase the diversity of our immune system. So the enteric nervous system as well. So this is the part where the central or the nervous system is connected to the brain. So we talked about that in relation to the serotonin. So and also the microbiome is involved in excuse me, the GABA as well, and other neurotransmitters that really help us to relax at nighttime. And GABA is really important for slowing down the brain waves at nighttime. Because the brainwave state has to slow down in order for us to go to sleep at nighttime. And then serotonin and melatonin. Sorry, guys.
I see the comments there about the blue light. Yeah, Joanne, Ken and Donal have just asked. It's just said the
blue light. Yeah, I'll touch on that definitely. You just went on mute there. There you go.
I muted myself too quickly. Yeah. So yeah, blue light.
Yeah.
So I'll let you get back to.
Brilliant. My battery was just going low. I hadn't plugged in. Isn't that life? Isn't it? Life happens. We forget to do things.
I saw that. I was conscious of it. I was going to remind you if it went red.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. So yeah, so all the gut health is massive. Like it's like I could do a whole webinar presentation on gut health. It's just, and I know Donal is on there as well. I know Donal would agree with that. He's a big advocate for the gut health as well. So I'll just say that much about the microbiome as well. I do cover a lot more in my program. Brain function is really important. A lot of people are not aware. I spoke about the toxins in the brain, and this has only been discovered. Sleep science has really only been studied really heavily in the last 15, 20 years. And it's just so exciting what is been unfolded and you know, what's been discovered. And one of the things is that they discovered is when we're in a deep phase of sleep, so this is a deep sleep, it is only then that your brain tissue actually shrinks. Now it shrinks by up to 60%. And this is what enables the cerebral spinal fluid to come in and literally wash that brain out of all these toxins. So we do have toxins like beta amyloid in particular, which has been shown to be accumulated in the brains of patients who have the Alzheimer's. So if, you know, maybe, and it could take 10 years for Alzheimer's to develop, even more. It takes, you know, it can take a long time. It doesn't just happen in the last 2 years or whatever. It's been going on for the last number of years, and good night's sleep is a very important factor when it comes to clearing out that brain and clearing out those toxins in the brain. And this has only been discovered in the last number of years, and science has shown this to be quite effective as well. So brain function, obviously cognitive function is really important as well, and our emotions, our behavior, our response and reaction times. You will find that your response times are a lot slower when we're sleep deprived. And we may also, the amygdala, which is the emotional center of the brain, that is heightened when we are sleep deprived. So it's on more of an alert. So we're triggered so much easier. Your amygdala is increased by up to 60% when you don't have a good night's sleep. So that is absolutely massive. So it doesn't only affect yourself, it's going to have an impact on your spouse. It's going to have an impact on your children, the place where you work. anybody that you interact with. So so it has a massive effect, and it's really up to each one of us to get a good night's sleep. Obviously, there's stuff there in the way, and you're here on this webinar to find out how you can do that better. So there's a lot that's going on the brain that can be impacted by sleep deprivation. So managing stress. So I spoke briefly about stress, and our body is only ever in one of two states at any time. So it's either in that stress response state, that fight or flight, and an awful lot of this can come down to our perceptions as well. So an awful lot of it is imagined, it's not real. And there's a very good quote about faith and fear, and our body demands, or our mind demands something that we can't see. It's something that we can't see. And this is with faith and with fear in these two areas. So fear, it's imagined, and faith, it's really a belief, a vision. So it's quite I can't remember what it is, I didn't write it down, but faith and fear, those two things are imagined. They're not real, and it's incredible the responses our body has, whichever one we choose to be in. So we are only ever in one of two states at any one time, and by activating the vagus nerve, which is one of the longest cranial nerves in the body, and it bypasses or touches all the different organs in the body. So when we activate our vagus nerve, it has a massive impact on how we're feeling, and it also helps us to get a good night's sleep as well. So there's lots of things you can do to activate the vagus nerve, like gargling and sing, believe it or not, humming even. It's basically just a vibration of the vagus nerve that helps to activate it. And I'm just touching very lightly now on the vagus nerve, but that is a massive way to help you reduce stress. And obviously exercise as well is really important, and eating healthy. So it's all holistic. And we know exercise helps to increase those endorphins, it helps to reduce pain, which an awful lot of people experience, and it prevents them from getting a good night's sleep. And then eating healthy as well, because we need our nutrition, we need our minerals and our vitamins to help producing all these hormones, these sleep hormones and other hormones that are involved in this circadian rhythm. So how much sleep do I actually need? So that's a question that a lot of people ask. So let's first have a look at the different stages of sleep, and we'll determine from that how much sleep we actually need. So we sleep in stages 1, 2, 3, there's a 4, and then 5 would be REM sleep. So stage 3 and 4 in some schools of thought is deep sleep. So you may see stage 3 and 4. And then you have the REM sleep. So stages, the first few stages there, 1 to 3 in this case, are a passive form of sleep. So this is light sleep, where we're just going to sleep and the body temperature is reducing. And that's really, really important that the body temperature reduces, because this enables the onset of the hormones required for sleep. And then when we go into stage 3, this is when the growth hormone is released, and this is where all the healing and the repairing is done. And that cannot be emphasized enough. This is where the healing, repairing, this is when all the toxins in the brain are being cleared out. So it's really important that we can get to this stage. Now, some of you were saying that you wake up quite an awful lot during the nighttime. So what's happening in my experience is a lot of people, because they're so stressed and worried and anxious, and they have a lot to do. So when they're going to bed with those thoughts in their head, right, the subconscious brain, we do a lot of dreaming as well. So the REM sleep. And the REM sleep is involved an awful lot in our mental health. It's involved in processing all our emotions and our thoughts of the day, because it has to file all those memories away somewhere as well. So that's what REM sleep is involved in. And when we're going to bed, we're all these worries, all these thoughts, right? So we're telling our brain that we're going to have to get a lot done tomorrow. So a lot of time people are waking up really early, because the body is saying, right, you've had enough sleep there now, get up and get some more work done. And also another thing that could be happening is your blood sugar levels. So, and again, it could be, watch what you're eating before you go to bed at nighttime as well. You don't want to be eating too many cakes or biscuits and things like that, because it's going to have an impact on your blood sugar. So when you're eating stuff like that, your blood sugar is going to rise, and then what happens after that? It dips and it crashes. Now, when that happens in your body, we all have a baseline. We all have a baseline with everything. So when it comes to blood sugar, if you go below that baseline, your stress hormones are going to come in, cortisol. And what does cortisol do? It increases our glucose. And what does glucose do? Well, glucose and cortisol, it wakes us up. So that's another thing, a really big, big thing. And it's all intertwined with stress, maybe what we're eating. We could be emotionally eating, we could be comfort food eating, we could be eating just to make us feel good because we get that hit. We don't realize that this is what's going on in the body. So now that you have the information and you understand, you may have more control and think differently about it and have a different perspective of it. So this stage 1 to 3 and then your REM sleep, that's normally typically about 120 minutes, right? About an hour and a half, say. And we would typically have 4, that's one cycle. We would typically have 4 to 5 of them each night. So how do you determine how much sleep that you need? Well, go to bed when, try this when you don't have to be up, you're not socially determined that you have to be up at a certain time in the morning. So go to bed, obviously mark what time you're going to bed, I say 11 p.m. And it's whatever time you naturally wake up at in the morning. Now, be mindful of how you're eating the night before and drinking. So obviously don't drink too much before you go to bed, too close to bed, because you don't want to be getting up to go into the bathroom. All those things. So putting all those things in place, right? And really winding down before you go to bed at night time. So the blue light as well, I'll talk about that in a minute, and your electronic devices. So when you go to bed, whatever time you wake up naturally without an alarm clock, that's how you will determine how much sleep that you actually need. So it may take a couple of goes to actually determine that. It's a very simple exercise to do, but try it and see how much sleep it is that you actually require. Some people, maybe 7 hours. Me, I love 8.5 hours sleep. I love my sleep. I'm just conscious of the time now, so I'm going to keep moving on. Oh, the blue light. Let's talk about the blue light. So the blue light has been shown to stop the production of melatonin. Now, melatonin is our sleep hormone. And melatonin is highest in the evening time when we're going to sleep at nighttime. So when we're on our devices, our electronic devices, this is an artificial light. And the blue light in particular is the strongest. And blue light says to our mind, our brain, that it's daytime. So it's mimicking daytime. So therefore, the whole sleep onset is not going to happen because your body thinks it's still daytime. And we are in sync with this circadian rhythm, which is really, really important. We operate all our, how we eat, the timing of our foods, all our different hormones. Cortisol is naturally highest first thing in the morning. It's what gets us up and gets us out of the bed. It is okay to have cortisol in our body. We actually need it. But it's when the fluctuations of cortisol, when we have too much cortisol at nighttime, it's not natural. It's not in line with our circadian rhythm. So that's what's preventing us from getting to sleep when we have too much cortisol in the evening time. So this blue light on the phone is blocking that melatonin, but also phones and it's stimulating the brain. So we want our brain to slow down. We want the brain waves to slow down. So it's stimulating the brain, and also it's creating this dopamine effect. So what's that? Well, dopamine is another pleasurable kind of a neurotransmitter. So dopamine has been shown, this is what addicts us to our phones. So when you're scrolling, you're not looking for anything in particular. You're just looking for something that looks good, that will give you a hit of dopamine, and it just keeps you hooked. You keep looking for the next thing and the next thing. So there's 3 things going on with your mobile phones at nighttime: the blue light, stimulating the brain, and then that dopamine effect as well. So it's quite an awful lot. Do not have your mobile phones in your bedroom at nighttime. Don't even charge your phones because it's giving out this EMF. That's a whole other story. EMF is another toxin in the bedroom. And really just don't have your mobiles, at least switch them off at least an hour or 2 before bedtime. So I hope that helps. I could go into it a little bit more. The sleep problems. So sleep apnea, as I said in the beginning of the talk, sleep apnea is a really, really big one. If you find your partner snores quite an awful lot, really, really loud, or if they're gasping during the night, they could possibly have sleep apnea. It happened with my husband a few years ago, before I even went down the route of all this work and sleep. And he was in hospital, and it was just a routine check, and they were asking him how he slept, and he said, yeah, I sleep fine. And I happened to be in the room, and I said, well, you might sleep fine, but I don't with all your snoring. And the doctors, one thing led to another then, and they were asking about all this snoring. And they sent him for a sleep lab test, and wouldn't you know, he was diagnosed with sleep apnea. And he now uses a CPAP machine. And in the beginning, he found it really difficult to use, but now he swears by it. He uses it for maybe 2 hours during the night time. And he may have fragmented sleep, but he's getting that deep sleep. It's still a process, but if you go undiagnosed with sleep apnea for a very long time, it's going to increase to with obesity, type 2 diabetes, stroke, heart attacks, all these awful things that can happen as a result of, because you're depriving the brain of oxygen and you're causing massive stress on the body as well. So it's a really, really big one. If you do suspect, to go to the doctor and ask for a sleep lab test. So environmental influences. So this is a really big one, the circadian rhythm and sleep drive. These are the two processes that actually drive your sleep. And I spoke a little bit about that in terms of, your cortisol in the morning, your melatonin in the evening time. If you do have any further questions on any of this, you can reach out to me, by the way. I know I'm rushing now near the end. So the top 5 tips for getting good night's sleep really is have a morning routine. Getting the sunshine first thing in the morning is what's going to switch off the melatonin and really get you going, really wake you up. So open up your curtains. If you're having breakfast, sit by a window. It's really important to get sunshine and get it as quickly as you can. Having a wind down routine in the evening, because sleep is not an on-off switch. You've got to wind down. And that includes turning off your mobile devices as well a couple of hours before bed. You want to avoid caffeine and alcohol. Caffeine is a stimulant and alcohol suppresses everything. So alcohol may get you asleep at nighttime. You may collapse and fall into bed, but it always causes fragmented sleep and it does interfere with your REM sleep. It has been shown. And wake up at the same time every day. It's really, really important because you want to create that routine. Your body loves routine. So we spoke about understanding sleep, stress impacts, how sleep works, and how you determine how much sleep you need. Any sleep problems, in particular sleep apnea, watch out for that one. And aligning with your circadian rhythm, your environment, and how your environment impacts your circadian rhythm. So now, if I can ask you, do you want to improve your life for the better now that you have this information? And is it something that you really desire? Do you want to have more energy and play with your children, get down on the floor and, really play with them? Or maybe, and look how happy your children can be when you're playing with them and you're giving them the life that they deserve. Or maybe it could be in the work situation, really relating to people. You're having that cognitive function, really been able to make decisions, been problem solution focused, all of this really been more effective. And this is your power. This is your life and it's up to you. We are all responsible for who we are, who we're being. It's freedom at the end of the day as well. And it's your life. So this is the program that I have. It's a 12-week live online program. So module 1 is waking up to sleep. So it really extends on what I've just spoken about today. So really being aware of what sleep does for you and understanding sleep. That really is a big priority. Then we're going to go into all the holistic, the eating, stress management, exercise, all these really important factors, the science of sleep, a little bit about neuroscience, really, really important. And then sleep problems. So there's loads of sleep problems that may interact or may cause us to not sleep well. And the environmental influences. So what is on a daily basis in our environment that's causing us? And this includes the sleep, your bedroom. And then we also talk about sleep hygiene. So natural habits as well that we can adapt that will help us get into a routine and practice good sleep hygiene skills as well. There is 6 Q&A calls as well on this program. You can ask me anything that you want. You're also going to get 2 30-minute one-to-one sessions with me just to see how you're getting on. There is a lot of exercises, stuff that you're going to get to do. So there's homework to do during this because it's about transformation. You actually get lifetime access to everything that I'm going to give you. And today it is $297. That's the investment, $297. It's a 12-week program, as I say, 6 modules, 6 Q&As, lots of testimonials from people. That's Doug Gordon, Pat Slattery. You may know Pat Slattery. Karina Murray, she's involved in New Academy. I'm involved with her on that as well. Leslie Figger. So there's many people here on the call who may know Leslie Figger. I do a lot of masterminds with Leslie Figger. He's an incredible man. He says, attend one of Joanne's events and you will come amazed at what she knows about sleep and what you can learn about sleep. So Leslie Figger is a fantastic man. Lots of bonuses, lots of cheat sheets. I'm going to give you a sleep diary as well to work with. I'm going to give you my audio book, my ebook, my paperback book, lots of guides, lots of assessments. You can get private email support from me. Lots of things, meditations, more videos. So you get all this for $297. And I think if you can put the offer up there, Sorcha. So it starts on the 27th of August. That's the introduction. It's it's an introduction call, and then the first class actually starts on the 3rd of September. They will be weekly. I just haven't populated the dates yet because there is 1 or 2 modules where there'll be a gap of 2 weeks. So that's the information. That's it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen there.
You're back.
Brilliant, brilliant.
That's amazing. The offer is up there, Joanne. So it's definitely something that people should sign up to. What an amazing offer! Wow, I learned so much. I never knew about the cycles that we slept in. So does that kind of mean if I need to be up at 7:30 that I should go to bed at 12 o'clock?
Yeah,
we've got 7.5 hours.
Yeah, you need to determine, because there is a lot of people that actually go to bed too early. And you see, then we create this association with our bed, and it's not a healthy association. So we're lying in bed going, oh, I can't go to sleep, because we're not tired, right? So you need to determine how much sleep you actually need. And then whatever time you need to get up at in the morning, factor all that in. So it's a whole exercise, and it's all about discovering as well what the best, but you can actually go to bed too early and then create that that sleep association with your bed that's not healthy. So that's really, really important.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm definitely going to get myself a blue light. So is it any type of a blue light that you should?
The blue light, it helps you wake up in the morning time. You can use the blue light first thing in the morning. So for a lot of people, if you can't get sunshine is really the preferred option. Get sunshine first thing in the morning. Some people use that blue, the light box, especially people who have that SAD disorder, especially in the winter months when there's not enough sunshine. So people would do, and that's a blue light. So the blue light is what makes you more alert, makes you more awake. So we do not want to use blue lights at nighttime. There's no blue lights at nighttime.
Okay, done. Yeah.
First thing in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. And is it a UV light, is it, or is it just a blue light?
No, I don't know exactly what it is, but it comes in like a light box. You can buy them on Amazon. It's just like a box, just a square like this, and it's just like blue light coming off it. And yes, a lot of people find it really, really effective. It increases their mood. It's used for the SAD because, again, we have to have that sunshine, that wakefulness, turning on the cortisol and the other hormones first thing in the morning, because this is part of the circadian cycle. Yeah,
I know if anyone is a fan of Grey's Anatomy, that they introduced a blue light room for all the doctors to go in and calm down and just, I suppose, reset themselves and take time out and shut down their mind. Ken has said, thank you. No more phones or computers for at least an hour before bed.
Love it, Ken.
Okay, so I need to stop going to bed and scrolling through social media for 2 hours. Okay. Donald says, does sleep deprivation increase the risk of forms of dementia other than Alzheimer's?
Yeah, it can.
Really?
Yeah, because you see, when we're getting a deep phase of sleep, now it's really all these studies, an awful lot of these studies have been tied to the Alzheimer's with this toxic protein, but there is other forms of dementia, as you say. One of them is to do with the central nervous system and all that connection as well. But the body is always trying to heal itself. And if we're not getting enough sleep, it's going to have an impact on all our neural pathways and all the pulses and all this, everything that's going on in the brain. Now, I haven't come across any studies, but in my opinion, I'm sure it has some impact, because there's not one bodily process that's not affected with a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
So I don't know of any studies now to definitely say yes, but I'm sure it does. It has a big impact on the brain, sleep deprivation, a negative impact when we're not getting, and this is ongoing. This is when we're regularly not getting sleep. And an awful lot of this comes down to bad habits, just people not going to bed. My sister now, she's started getting to a good routine now, but for a while there, she was a real night owl and she just couldn't go, and she had a young baby and she just couldn't go to bed till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and she was wrecked. And of course the baby's waking up early in the morning, and she was wrecked. So she found it really difficult to go to bed earlier in the evening time. But now she's doing it now, but it's just habit. It's an awful lot of it is all habit. Like she's actually doing it fine now. There's no problem. And it was just a habit. And sometimes it takes a while. Like it doesn't happen overnight. Like sometimes it takes a while to form new habits. You know, it could take the 21 days.
You're just getting yourself into a routine, really. Yeah, yeah. And you always find that when you're most tired, that it's nearly, you know, when you're that tired that you're nearly crying, that you go to bed and you can't sleep.
Yeah.
Or the one day that you want to lie in, you wake up and you're wide awake at 6 a.m. or something like that.
For a child,
there's Murphy's Law.
You know the way some young children need a nap during the daytime, and if they haven't had their nap, they tend to not sleep as well during the nighttime because they're not relaxed. Their nervous system is a little bit up, you know, and just briefly, that's just a very surface level. But that's what's happening. So when you wwere saying when you're absolutely exhausted, you need to have a certain amount of energy to sleep. You know, so if you're overtired. Oh my God. And then if you don't go to bed when you're actually tired, if you're not listening to your body, you need to listen to your body when your body is actually tired and go to bed then. If you don't, what's going to happen is you get that second wind. So when you get that second wind, you're getting more cortisol into the body and it's increasing your blood sugar. So all that is going on when you don't go to bed, when your body is tired, when your body is telling you that it's tired. So it's really important to listen to your body. Your body is just incredible.
You know those days where you wake up at maybe 5:30 and you're bright as a button, but you know that you don't actually have to get up until 7 and you go back to sleep and you wake up and you're wrecked. Should you really get up at the 5:30 when you wake up and you're awake?
If you're if you feel awake and you're bright-eyed or whatever, but if you can, now what I do in the mornings, right, and that has happened to me at times, is I lie in bed and I practice gratitude. So that's how I start out my day, right? And I might do some work in my head if I'm delivering this. Like this morning, now I was awake early this morning and I was lying in bed. I didn't want to get up. I was lying in bed and I was just going through my head what I'll say or whatever, you know, because I don't really use notes. I love just the whole say it, you know, like I could be standing here with a script and reading it, like, you know, but it's not the same. Now when I was starting off, I had my script or whatever, but I was just in my head going, what I talk about, what will really empower people, you know, and I was going through all that in my head this morning, and I did nod off then for 40 minutes or something like that, and then I just got up then. But like if you can do that, you can really utilize your time. And you can practice, and I talk a lot about lucid dreaming as well. So you could go into a lucid dream at that time if you wanted. So that's a whole other talk. But that's where you can practice mentally rehearse stuff as well. Very effective thing to do to utilize the time.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. Donald's just said white light contains blue light.
It does. Yeah, it does. It does. White light contains all the spectrums, all the light, all the different lights. So green, yellow, blue. White light contains them all. So if you know when it's raining and the sun comes out after that and it's shining through all the raindrop molecules and you get the rainbow. So the rainbow is all the light that's in the white light. It's split. So when the sunshine is shining through all those little droplets, so that's split in the white light. So they're all the colors that are in white light. Actually, that's how white light is made up of.
Interesting. Great. Does anybody have any questions for Joanne?
There's one there from Ken. And he says, is there a way to measure what type of sleep we're in? Yeah. So, Ken, there's lots of trackers that you can use. I'm not a massive fan of them. An awful lot of the trackers, you can download free apps, but they really only measure your movement. If you want to get true feedback, you want to get something that's going to measure your blood pressure, your heart rate, your oxygen levels, your movement, all the sort of stuff. Now, another thing that I don't like about these, it's a good idea, but really be responsible when you're using them, because there are some people that will not go to bed unless they have one of these trackers on. And like it's okay to use a short term to determine, right? Not every day for a whole year or 2 years. You're really dependent on it then if you're doing that. And what happens there is it creates an anxiety in itself. So you're constantly checking to see, did I sleep well last night? And you're actually going by what the tracker says. And sometimes the tracker can get it wrong. especially if it's just one of those movement ones that just records movement.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a good idea, just short term maybe, but I wouldn't be overly dependent on it long term, like continuously using it every single night, because you can get hooked on it kind of, you know. But get a good one that monitors a few different things, not just movement.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I know I used to monitor my sleep a lot a couple of years ago because I wasn't getting any.
Yeah.
And the restless, like the whole thing used to be red. Restless.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
85% sleep efficiency is what we're aiming for. So you will be in bed awake for a small amount of time. So 85% is 85% of the time that you're actually in the bed, that you're actually asleep. So that's what we're aiming for with those trackers, is 85% sleep efficiency.
Interesting. Okay, great. Has anybody any more questions for Joanne before we let her get away and carry on with her day? No? Well, for me, Joanne, I'd love to just to say thank you so much for your time. It's been really, really interesting. Sorry, Ken has just come in. Is this a Fitbit type tracker?
Yeah, Fitbit is one of them. Yeah, and Fitbit, I haven't used Fitbit, but it does have a lot more than some of the normal ones. So
that's what I used to use. Yeah. It's actually fascinating looking at it, and it breaks it down into the different, the REM and the deep sleep and the light sleep and all those things.
Yeah.
And you're right, you do get kind of caught up in it a lot. Donald said, "Can I ask about one of my favorite topics, earthing and grounding? Does it relate to sleep?"
Oh my God, absolutely. Really, because especially when it comes to the EMF, because EMF has a massive impact on the body. So grounding can help to cut out all the EMF effects on the body. So we're surrounded by technology, and technology is only going to become more and more. So grounding and earthing, and even, you know, like the earth contains these natural negative ions, and this is when it can help our nervous system. So not lots are going around worried and tired and stressed and all of this. So grounding, walking in your bare feet on grass, especially when it's damp, like at the moment now, it's great. It's damp because that is more of a conductor. And it has been shown many, many, many times that grounding can help with all sorts of ailments as well, not only just helping you with sleep, but lots of other different ailments as well. But it's a great way to get you centered and connected with the earth, and, you know, really being one with the earth, if you like. So important. Yeah, and very important for sleep. Yeah, it will help you to relax and calm down. Yeah, for sleep.
There's nothing nicer than walking barefoot on kind of nice, cool, wet grass.
Yeah,
love it. Yeah, fantastic. So listen, I think we'll leave it there, Joanne. It was fantastic and lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Anybody who wants to replay the webinar, you'll get your link in the next couple of hours. And for those people who've missed it, I hope you enjoy the replay. So Joanne, thank you so much for your time. If anybody's any questions or wants to follow up with Joanne, please let me know and I will connect you both. Brilliant. Thank you so much, and everybody have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Bye.